One cool thing about Multiphonics CV-2 is that it's not only a synth, and not only is it an effect that processes your sound in a static way, but you can make it react to the dynamics of your sound, so you can use the incoming volume of the sound you're processing as a control signal within the modular environment. Let me show you how it's done based on a drive wah preset that I made for the factory library. So this is how it sounds on a guitar. First we'll listen to the guitar drive. Okay, so let's make it from scratch now. First, we need the drive to create some harmonics that we'll be filtering. So let's drag it into the saturator. Then we'll put it through a VCA. The purpose of this I'll explain in just a sec. So that's the drive part. Now we need the wah-wah part. That's the bandpass filter. So we go into the filters, we drag 2 micro bandpass filters, one for each of the channels. And I want them separate despite their being stereo. The purpose of this will become known later on. So this one goes into the left channel, and this one goes into the right channel of the output. So now I can drive and also adjust the cutoff frequencies. Actually, I'll use macro 1 for the drive and macro 2 for the cutoff frequency, so it's the same for both channels. So I'll close the filters here, but I will modulate them with the macro. So you can hear that I can both drive this and open and close the filter. Now let's make some adjustments. I will want to increase the Q so the filter is more resonant for a more wah-wah effect. So now, as I drive the signal, it will become louder, and I would like to compensate for that. So it's the tone changes, the harmonics are added, but the volume doesn't change that much. So what I need is I need an inverter to invert the macro signal. So this was the purpose of the VCA. It will, as I increase the macro, the saturation, the gain of the saturator will make the sound louder, but at the same time the inverted signal from the macro will lower the amplification of the VCA, making it quieter, so I get this compensating action. So we can hear that the timbre changes, but the volume doesn't jump that much. Now for the dynamic part. So the volume of the incoming signal will open and close the bandpass filters, providing the wah-wah effect. For this, we need to get the volume out of the incoming sound in a process that is called envelope detection. Let me show you what I mean. So, if you look at a waveform, if you zoom in, you see that there are individual oscillations that make the speaker go back and forth, producing the sound of the guitar. But this sound changes too fast for the purpose of using it as a control signal to open and close our bandpass filter. So we need to apply slew limiting. Slew limiting meaning restricting how fast the signal can change. If you want to geek out on this, the signal is rectified first, so only the positive half remains, and then it's passed through a low-pass filter, actually, and it's smoothed out to the point where it becomes a slow-changing voltage, a signal that can be routed into the filter to open it and close it. It can be done more smoothed or less smooth, tracking the envelope of the signal better. Actually, envelope detection is the basis of all dynamic processing, for example, compressors, noise gate, and whatnot. So, Multiphonics CV-2 is also a cool teaching tool for all you teachers out there that would like to show some basic concepts in audio engineering. Yeah, so as I do in my classes. So, let's use this magic slew limiter. First, for only the left channel. Since the dynamics of the incoming signal have been limited by the saturator, we won't take the signal after saturation. We'll take it straight from the input into the slew limiter. Since the levels or the amplitudes of audio signals are usually not that high to provide useful modulating signal, we'll multiply them with a scalar. So we go out of the exponential output of a slew limiter into the scalar, and first, to observe what's going on, we'll use a level meter, and we'll go out of the times 10 output and see, as I change the smoothing time, we'll see how this behaves. First, it will move fast, and as I increase the time, it will just move slower and slower. You can restrict the rise times and fall times separately with the skew control. For this, I need a fast attack, so the rising edges won't be restricted, but the falling edges will be smoothed out. So the attack of the guitar will open the filter, and then it will close along with the falling edge of the detected envelope. I know that's super geeky, but isn't modular synthesis a bit geeky? Okay, so let's get back to this. So let's replicate this for the second channel. There was no audible effect, in case you're wondering, because it's not routed to the filter yet. Let's move the filter here. So now I take the right channel into the slew limiter, scale it times 10, observe in the level meter, and now I will modulate filter cutoff for the left and right channels. Let's put smoothing times to fastest setting, but modulate them with the with macro 3. You see, that's too fast. The filter is trying to open and close very rapidly, but as I increase the slew limiter's time, the smoothing rate, it will all make sense and we get this auto wah sound. Okay, so this needs some careful adjustments. So the left and right channels are adjusted in the same way. Otherwise, the panorama of the guitar will jump all over the place. So first, we need to make sure that macro 3 is controlling the slew limiter's time in the same way. We'll set it to max, so we get full range. Actually, we could also divide it by 100 if we want very fast times, but this is for a different purpose. So we have macro 2 adjusting the time in the same way for both left and right channel slew limiters. And now we also need to set macro 2 modulating the bass frequency, so the setting of this knob in the same way for both channels. Let's make it full as well. And now the slew limiter's output controlling the cutoff in a dynamic way. So we'll set this to around 10% and see if this works, and we'll adjust from there. I think it's opening the filter too high because the voltage is multiply. So we'll move it to around 5%. Okay. Now let's add an LFO to move it around, but in an organized fashion, not randomly. If we would make this too unbalanced, it would be a mess, but a nice panning effect to add to this drive wah would be nice. So let's drag in an LFO. We'll sync this LFO to a project tempo and also make it reset upon hitting play. And we'll use a sine wave, but this will not be a usual panner. The panning will be done by opening one filter a bit and closing the other one. So how do we do it? We can use the FM input frequency modulation. So this basically changes the frequency of the cutoff knob also. We'll change the left cutoff in one way, and then we'll invert this LFO in the inverter we already have here, and change the second one in an opposite way. So here let's adjust, for example, 50%, and also here 50% buff with an inverted signal. Technically we could also do this. Oh, actually we couldn't. Okay, so that's why I used the inverter in the original patch. So this as LFO goes up, the frequency of this bandpass filter increases and the frequency of this bandpass filter decreases. So the signal moves around, but by means of filtering, not amplitude adjustment. So let's listen how this sounds. We could also control the skew rate, so the skew mode. We could use macro 4, or we could use a voltage source. So just drag it here. And now we can adjust the smoothing of the rising and falling edges of the detected envelope. This, along with smoothing times, can give you different effects. To complete the patch, we'll use some reverb and delay, but a very short delay and very short reverb with no feedback and no damping. We just want a small room ambience for this. This patch can be also used on beats and other content. We just want to adjust the times to fit the incoming signal. We can also mix this with dry-wet to just provide some color to the beat and not overwhelm it with the effect. So, what sort of dynamic processing effects can you come up with Multiphonics CV-2?